Hello and welcome to my porch. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel typically sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today I am out on the porch, and I know we missed it last week because for the summer we are doing these no tags every other week. Just because people are doing vacations, they're doing all sorts of things during the summer. So we voted and we decided to do every other week. Unfortunately, we did not decide that until after our last video, so we couldn't really disclose any of that information, although I did share it in a little post. Anyway, the questions this week come from Tracey over at Trials of a Long-Haired Girl. She has decided to do Family Feud style questions, and I have a feeling, based on looking these questions over and going over them with Paul, this might be a pretty short video. Although with me, short is subjective. I often think things are going to be short, then I tend to ramble and they're not so short. But I'm rambling now. So let us get on with these Family Feud questions. Number 1, name a house you never want to be in. My first thought was a haunted house, but then I wouldn't mind a haunted house too much. So my second thought was a madhouse. Definitely would not want to be in a madhouse. Paul's answer, because yes, I did go over these with Paul just to get my mind into gear for these questions, was the poorhouse, which I think that might be worse than the madhouse at this point. I'm not sure. Anyway, number 2, name something associated with vampires. Now, Paul and I both immediately thought of fangs and steak, obviously blood, and then there are bats and of course Twilight. But anyway, I'm going with fangs. Number 3, name something in a bakery a baker might call their significant other. Obviously, my first thoughts were sugar and honey. Paul, as much as I hate to admit it, came up with the best answer possible. He said needy. And I was like, darn it, why didn't I come up with that one? Because that is definitely something I would have thought of normally, I think, but I did find it very funny. Needy. So I think I'm going to go with Paul's answer and say needy. Number 4, if you could go to the land of Oz, what would you ask the wizard for? Now, Paul tends to be analytical, so he kind of overanalyzed this question, I think, because he was going based on what they asked for in the books and movies, which was heart, courage, brains. So he was thinking maybe a heart for his aunt, who has been having some health issues. Then that made me think of new lungs for Paul, because he has interstitial lung disease, which makes it difficult to breathe, especially with his asthma. But I was trying to go more broad, because you can ask for anything, almost like a genie, I would think, because he is a wizard. So my first thought was money. I could definitely use some money. Being on a fixed income does kind of have its downside, as I'm sure some of you know. So yes, I think if I were to go to the land of Oz, I would ask the wizard for some money. And number 5, what's something you keep in your car just in case? Paul, once again being a wise guy, said gas, which technically is true. Just in case he wants to go somewhere, he has gas in his car. But going with the sentiment of the question, I'm going to go with a flashlight. I always have a flashlight in my car. I also have some other things in there, but flashlight would be the number one because I'd want to be able to see if anything happened, if the power went out in the car and it's nighttime, I couldn't see anything. And here I go overthinking it. Let's just say flashlight. Number 6, name something you find in a breakfast buffet. I immediately thought of scrambled eggs. You know, that big tray of scrambled eggs that are kind of like solidified, although I would prefer a waffle if it's nice and crispy. I don't like those soggy waffles that you can get sometimes. A nice crispy waffle or sausage. Anyway, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. So my first thought was those scrambled eggs that come out in chunks. But I'm going to go with a waffle. That's what I really want. And number 7, name a professional sport where the players make a lot of money. I think the majority of sports players make a lot of money. I think they personally make too much money compared to teachers, police officers, firefighters, etc. But we won't go there. But Paul and I both had the same first idea of football. Neither of us watch it. We don't watch any sports. But the first one we both thought of was football. Number 8, in horror movies, name a place where teenagers go where there's always a killer on the loose. My immediate thought was high school, because you know there's always a high school killer at the prom or hunting them through the high school. But the other one besides high school that I thought was pretty predominant in a lot of horror movies, summer camp. But I'm going to go with high school, but summer camp is right up there. Number 9, name a common candy bar component. Paul and I immediately both said chocolate. I think that we should have excluded chocolate as an option because most candy bars have chocolate. So Paul went with peanuts, which is another one I would have chosen, and I chose caramel. Those are pretty common in a lot of candy bars. And number 10, yes, I am already at the end. I think, as I said, this is pretty short. Name something that grows faster than you want it to. Now, Paul had a great answer here, which was debt. And yes, I can definitely agree with that because after I had to retire and before my Social Security and pension kicked in, there was actually about a year where I wasn't making any money. So I had to use my credit cards to carry me over until I started getting that money coming in. So that definitely built up a lot faster than I would have thought. Paul said if you're a parent, you'd probably say children. He is a parent, I am not. Personally, I think you'd want to get them to grow up faster because then you get them out of diapers faster, you get them out of those terrible twos faster. But I understand later in life you wish they were young again and that little kid you could sit in your lap, so I get that. But I definitely agree with Paul on the debt. My first thought, as I'm sure it may be for many who do these WW, healthy, I Track Bites, etc. channels, weight loss channels, your waistline. Your waistline definitely grows faster than you want it to and much more easily than you lose it. But I think I'm going to go with debt. I don't know how we're going to win this because usually there's a survey. So Tracey, are you going to find out the most common answers to these questions and rank them? Give you a little extra work. Anyway, that wraps up these Family Feud-Inspired questions. So thank you, Tracey, over at Trials of a Long-Haired Girl. All of the questions are in the description box. as are links to the other channels that are doing this tag. Also down there you'll find links to my Amazon storefront, my recipe blog, my Fetch rewards, my social media, both my Instagram and the Facebook groups that I'm part of. So go check out that description box for all of that kind of information. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. You know the deal. So until next time, bye.